Today is April the 16th, 2021. This is the Service Hero Show. 365 days of awesome. Celebrate success through service. My name is Tamara Hunter, and I am your host. This is the show where we share inspiring stories of those that are inspiring others. So let's do this. TGIF, we are going to have some fun today. We have a service hero that actually, we were talking about this nearly 3 years ago. This show was a different look and feel, and poor Dr. Lyman Montgomery was the one that got the short end of the stick when it came to the Service Hero Show. And he was such a professional. What a service hero. I was on a remote location in Vegas. He was where he was, and we had the worst sound issue ever that this show has had. Yet, he stood in it, he stood with it, and he helped that show become a show that I will forever remember. What a gentleman, what a service hero. And he is so much more than that. In fact, we are going to let him tell us a little bit about what it is that he does.
Hello, my name is Lyman Montgomery. I'm the author of the destined best-selling book, Focus-Driven Lifestyle, 7 Strategies for Effective Permanent Solutions to Overcome Procrastinations and Distractions. Have you ever wondered why some people tend to be more focused than others? Have you ever wondered why others seem to be able to concentrate and get things done while others see life pass them by? If that's you, or if you know someone that struggles with distractions, that don't have the ability to stay focused, then do me a favor. In fact, do yourself a favor. Get my new book, Focus Driven Lifestyle, in bookstores today.
Welcome.
So glad to be here. Thank you for inviting me. Wow, can you believe it was 3 years ago, the last time that I was on your platform? Matter of fact, I think I may have been in Florida, and we had complications, difficulties. We worked through them. And life is the same way. For those of you that don't know, I'm Lyman Montgomery, and before I became, quote, Dr. Lyman Montgomery, or the Focus Doctor, listen, I was the kid that didn't learn to speak till he was 8 years old, was bullied every single day of my life, sexually abused by a teacher for 3 years, and had all sort of issues, emotional issues. And I lived a life behind masks. And that's what led to my first best-selling book, Shattered Masks, 7 Masks That We Wear, and the strategies to shatter them. And when I realized that, I love how you did that. Yeah. Matter of fact, the gentleman in that picture is responsible for that. He was my assistant when I was in college. A matter of fact, I ran a program, and he was a student, and he has entered school a lot later in life. Mark Anthony Garrett, our birthdays are exactly 1 day apart. And come to find out, he and I had been sexually abused by the same perpetrator and didn't know it. We had been friends at this time for over 20 years, and he had done a speech. And I asked him, he called me up to tell me about it. He said, I was talking to a bunch of students about overcoming sexual abuse. And I said, wow, Mark, I never knew that about you. And as we continue to talk, a lot of what he said seemed familiar. And there was this silent pause. And I said the name of the perpetrator, and he said, oh my God, you too. And so this was in 2009. He said, Lyman, you got to write about this. He said, he actually challenged me, Tamara. He said, Lyman, you're living a lie, man. I'm like, what? He was like, you're going around the country motivating people, but you're still wearing a mask, man. You're talking about how great things are. Let them see your scars so they can appreciate your stars. And that's what I do now. He
I
literally
love
got
it.
in my stuff. And I'm
I
so
love it.
appreciative of that. Yeah, I see a lot of times we're walking around with a lot of scars. You say I got a scar on my nose. There's a story behind that. A lot of times we want to show people just a star. We want to show them the moon and the planets. But let's face it, every moon has a lot of craters on it, right?
Yes.
And
Yes. Absolutely.
sometimes it's the craters that character is built. It's the struggle that character is built. And because of basically writing that first, I didn't even tell my parents about the book until it was released. And my sister spilled the beans on me and
She's
told the rest.
she ratted you out, huh?
She read, but then too, you know, she's an accountant. So
You know, and I want to make a announcement here that we are live on the E360 TV platform. And for those that don't know what that means, I do want you to know that you should be loading it or downloading it into your smart devices. And this is how you do it. So your story is one that it just continues to get more defined, more focused, because focus is what really you're known for. Like you said,
yes,
Dr. Focus. You know, yes, your name is Lyman Montgomery, yet I will say you make an impact wherever you go. In fact, I remember there's very few people I can remember exactly the moment that I met you. And I remember that like it was yesterday. In fact, it was not because I met you face to face. It was because you said 365 days of awesome. And I like turned around thinking, okay, who said that? And it was you. I'll never forget that moment in my whole entire life, because you have that voice. You have that way of getting people to focus on you, and then you help others to then focus on whatever it is that they will make their life better. And you learned that. You told me that story about how you learned how to get that presence, that
yes.
voice, and everything. I'm going to share a clip that I found, a time capsule kind of clip. And it, guys, it's not so bad on your ears. I cut that out because it was obnoxious, but we worked out a system of how to at least get a message across the day that we filmed this nearly 3 years ago.
So I began to say, I am grateful. And I was making D's and L's. But something interesting happened. The more I began to say, I am great, I am brilliant, I am wonderful, I am intelligent, I kid you not, my grades began to soar. She gave me a speech called The Creation by James Weldon Johnson. It's the longest poem I ever saw in my life. And she said, Lyman, I want you to learn this poem. She worked with me. She was my coach. And we would do drills after drills after drills. And I was like, you can't do it. My good friend, Naaman Oliver Wright, he said, Lyman, stand in front of the mirror, and this is what I want you to do. I'm in 7th grade. Naaman's in 9th grade. He said, Lyman, this is what I want you to do. Practice as if you are your favorite character. He got me into a state. He said, who do you like? I said, Dr. King. Interesting thing happened. When I thought of Dr. King, The next day in class, instead of delivering the speech like in the beginning, all of a sudden I was in character and it came out like this. And God stepped out on space. And as far as the eyes of God could see, darkness covered everything. What happened? I believed more in Dr. King than I believed in me. But because I borrowed from Dr. King, who I had never met, I took on his style, his animation. It gave me the confidence to do it. So sometimes you have to mirror someone else until you find your voice. Back to you.
Oh my goodness. Wow. You know, Mrs. Jarvis, my 7th grade English lit teacher, I don't know what she saw in me. Like I said, I couldn't speak. I stuttered. I mumbled. I didn't have any confidence. And the greatest reward that I was able to give her was when she was dying of cancer. Broke my heart. She was the first person I believed in. And about a day or two before she passed, my oldest brother, Robert, who's a fantastic singer, we went to the hospital. They let us in. I told the family that she was my teacher. This time, I think I was in 8th grade, or maybe 8th grade, I believe I was in 8th grade. And my brother sung a song, Amazing Grace, how sweet the song, how sweet the sound. Oh. And then I just whispered in her ear the creation. And although I don't know if she could hear me, but I felt, at least in my spirit, that she grabbed my hand and I saw a tear come down her face. And a day or two later, she transitioned to the other side. But I made myself a promise then that as often as I would take a stage and talk about my process, I would pay homage to this lady, this little small lady that had this unique voice. She spoke like this: Lyman, I believe in you, and she elongated everything, and you're going to do fine. She said, Lyman, remember the 3 P's. When you walk out, your posture, your poise, your presence, and then your presentation. That's how she talked. And I never forgot that. She said, never tell them to be quiet. Just stand there as a gentleman. They will see you and they will be quiet. You know, I've tested that all over the world and it works. If you just stand there, you don't have to tell people, okay, can I have your attention? Just stand there politely and smile. Mm-hmm. And it draws, she was the first person to really teach me about focusing, that people begin to focus in on you if you're silent. Mm-hmm. One of the lessons, Tamara, that I had to learn was to be silent. A lot of times we're making too much noise, or we're in a noisy environment, that we don't allow creative thoughts to penetrate our mind and our body and vibrate at a higher frequency because it's being drowned out with noise. Yeah. You see, I have earbuds in, and something interesting about earbuds. There are 2 types of earbuds. There's what's called noise cancellation and noise isolation. The problem is a lot of people are walking around with noise cancellation where they're just trying to block out everything and they're not aware. Whereas noise isolation, what it does is when someone is talking, it shuts down everything, and it's almost like putting blinders or muffins on, or muffs over your ears. So all you hear is that one-way conversation. But then when no one's talking, it opens up the technologies that now you can hear. So it doesn't prevent you from hearing ambient noises, but when someone is talking, it shuts out everything else. And that's what your brain does. Nice. Your brain is constantly trying to figure out what to focus on. And for those of you that's wondering, well, Lyman, what is focus? Focus is simply this. Focus can be defined as your ability to direct your attention. That's all it is. Mm-hmm. Your ability to direct your attention. And we have 2 types, intentional and unintentional. Unintentional, we hear a loud noise, our ears automatically go in that direction. we see a flash of light, our eyes automatically go in that direction. Mm-hmm. And then intentional is where we are deliberate and we lean in and we say, wow, I need to pay attention to this. So when a person says they have attention deficit, what it means is they're having a hard time focusing in because something keeps pulling them away. The word distraction, if you look up the word distraction, which is the enemy to focus, it simply comes from the word distraction, which is French, which means to pull apart. And it uses example as if one is being quartered. What that means is in the old ancient days, medieval days, they would take a person and four horses, right? And it would pull them apart. Well, that's what distractions do. It pulls us away from what we should be focusing. So when I'm working with clients that say, hey, I got ADHD, I've always said, join the club, me too. Now let's work on how you can focus. Right. All this simply means is learning strategies and techniques to redirect your focus. And it's an exercise. Your brain, there's a concept called neuroplasticity. It used to be prior to the 1980s that the brain was fixed. Once you got a certain age, it was over, it was done, it was fixed, your brain didn't grow. Well, they found out that that's not true. Your brain continues to create new pathways and new neurons. And it's actually elastic. It's elastic. It expands, but it's like a muscle. You have to exercise it. And focusing is the same way. Here's two ways that I tell people to focus. Number one, ask yourself a question. When you ask a question, it automatically brings you back into focus. And the second is listen to music.
I love that one. I love both of them. In fact, around my house and around the people I know, everybody knows that is the one thing that I will always be doing is asking questions because I'm curious. I want to know. I did not know that asking questions would bring it back into focus. Use music. Oh my goodness. Music is such a pathway. It can help us in so many different ways. There's healing methods and the vibration and then if it instills different emotions, that also, there's a lot of things that you can spin off on that. And so where you're going right now, I could go down a rabbit hole so easily with you. However,
Let me give you another.
Okay, go ahead.
One more, real quickly. Let me ask you this question to your audience. Put it in the chat. Okay. Is the power of a hypnotist in the ink pen or the clock or the watch that they use?
Oh, good
It's
question.
neither one. It's just a focusing tool. A hypnotist will say, focus on what? The ink pen. Because your eyes have to have a target. And he says, watch it. But there's no power in the ink pen. There's no power. Remember the old days with the watch? Watch the watch. These are what we call focusing agents. Lights is another one. When they have the different flashing lights. These are focusing agents. And what these focusing agents do, they allow us to get into a hypnotic state. And there's a lot of brain activity. Now, that's a whole nother subject. And I studied this a lot of getting into brain science, where you start getting into brain wave activity, the difference between beta wave, gamma ray, gamma wave, gamma brain wave activity, theta. And so what happens in delta? So what happened when you get into that translucent state of beta, we begin to calm and then you begin to think about, you want to get into that theta state. And what happens is in hypnosis, they get you into that delta state, which is that sleeping state. But right before you get there, you get into the alpha state, which is the ascension state, which is that translucent state. It's sort of like when you feel like, I don't know if I was dreaming or getting ready to go into dream state. And see, the problem with a lot of us, we operate in beta. Beta is the busy state. It's that awake state. But we really, if we take time to get into that alpha state, the ascension state, and that theta, which is deeper, and even deeper is the delta state. But this is where the creative, and very few people are able to do this. to get into that gamma state or brainwave state, which is the godlike. This is when you get those ideas that change the world.
Right.
Yes, well, your mind just go.
Right. And isn't it also that they say that that's why sometimes that 3 o'clock hour in the night can be that magic hour if you wake up with some kind of a epiphany or something, that can somehow that has something to do. I mean, this is where I'm going down a rabbit hole with you, Lyman. and I want to get us back on target, but oh my goodness, this is just so much fun, and I hope that we're going to start seeing some of your comments. I wanted to just recognize the fact that you got all sorts of interesting things behind you, and so that people understand, we're gonna go there. And at first glance, I just took a real quick glance when you first came on. I'm thinking, is he into fishing now? But explain what you've got going on back there.
Sure. This is the room that I believe every person should have a dedicated room. Some people have a man cave, a woman's cave, or hideout. I created what I call my warrior room. Because remember, I was the kid that was bullied. I didn't know how to fight until my parents put me in a martial arts. I studied Kung Fu and progressed and became very good. And so this weapon that's across and in back of me on the screen is called a monk's spade. And what that is for, if a monk was walking and they found dead animals, then they would use the spade side to bury them. But if they were being attacked by the animal, they would use the moon side to keep them at bay. But they also could use it to fend off bandits and things of that. Also, I have my swords, and on the other wall, I have a huge picture of a tiger. And that just reminds me, you have to have that tenacity, that eye of the tiger, to go after what you want and not to let go over it, not to let go of it. You have to be willing to stay in the fight. Listen, you're going to get knocked down. There are times where life will take the breath out of you. But if I could borrow from Les Brown, he said, if life knocks you down, make sure you land on your back. Because if you can look up, then baby, you can get up.
That's
and the other part of that is, listen, if you're not knocked on your back, then fall forward. Either way,
exactly. Either way, you win. You have a bit of a clip. I have a clip that tells a little bit of the story, and your story, because I want to go into the next phase here and piggyback off of it.
The number one question that I'm asked all over the country is, Lyman, what is your story? How did you get started? What caused you to create focus-driven lifestyle? You see, I grew up in a Midwestern town of Ohio, second child of 5, and I had a lot of physical things I had to overcome. I didn't learn to speak until I was 8 years old, had a serious speech impediment, wore corrective shoes. I couldn't walk in a straight line. Matter of fact, some people argue I still can't walk in a straight line. When I turned 10, 11 years old, I was sexually abused by a teacher who was also the scoutmaster and also head of our neighborhood watch. And those events, and on top of that, I ended up losing my grandmother to suicide. And that began a downward spiral into a deep depression. And the only way that I knew to cope with that was to pour my work, my life, into study. That's the only thing I knew I was good at. And I ended up, graduating from high school with great grades, going to college. But I never really dealt with the pain, the tragedy of being sexually abused. And I started a company and got the company literally up to $500,000 a year in sales revenue. And literally within a matter of 3 months, found myself house in foreclosure, verge of bankruptcy, losing everything. And maybe you can relate to that. Maybe you've lost everything and you feel as if life has dealt you a bad hand. If so, stay tuned. I want to give you 3 strategies to literally go from the bottom back to the top.
love it. You have done your homework. I am
Oh
impressed.
yeah. Well, it's fun. It's fun. You gotta have some fun these days,
Yes, I
and
love it.
you wherever you are, whatever you do, you have fun. And the thing that I find so inspiring as I'm listening over and over to your story, and not too surprised by, just because of the fact that this is something that you and I actually have in common. And that is, I also, no one could understand me when I was a kid. Now they can't shut me up. I had 8 years of speech therapy, right? Yeah. High five.
Wow.
Yeah.
I am there. I am virtually high-fiving you. And I
Yeah.
want to give a shout out to all sorts of therapists, whether it's a physical
Yes.
therapist, speech therapist, occupational therapist. I'm telling you, they need a major increase in pay. I mean,
Yeah.
they should be making $1 million a year for the work they do.
We call this give them the hand. There you go. Yes, we are, because the facts here, and I loved also the fact that you're saying, because of the foot situation, and not walking in a straight line, and you're also being humble about the fact that you were put into martial arts. You happen to be a Master Six Sigma Blackbelt, correct?
That is correct. Yes,
Yeah.
I am a Master Six Sigma Black Belt, and I also hold I hold several distinctions in different forms of martial arts as well. And so, in Chinese, it would be called Sisuk, which is the level next to Sifu, or master in that, or big brother instructor would be in Chinese. And so, I've lived a very interesting life. I had parents that did not allow us to quit.
Yeah.
Matter of
Yeah.
fact, my dad was a construction worker. My mom was an educator. And if something was hard, or if you couldn't do it, it was drilled. It was drilled. They just say, okay, figure out another way of doing it. It may take you longer. And I want people to hear this. Stop comparing yourselves at the same race of others. There's some people that are built for marathons, and then there are some people that are built for sprinting. If you are a marathon, it takes you time to build up, but you have that endurance to go the long haul. Stop trying to compete in a short race with sprinters, because I guarantee if you put that sprinter in a marathon, they will burn out.
Oh yeah.
While you're just catching momentum.
Yep. This wall here. Yeah, they won't. Yes, they will hit it, and
They will hit that wall.
And let's hope that they would be like a Les Brown, like fall back, fall forward, But the whole thing here is get back up. It doesn't matter. Get back up, and I love what you're sharing there too, because get back up and reevaluate sometimes, because are you in the right lane? Not that you need to stop driving. You just need to look to see, are you in the right lane for where it is that you want to go? Because you also talk about, in the focus driven lifestyle, you talk a lot about the pillars and overcoming the procrastination. And my goodness, you don't just say it, you do it. You have how many degrees? How many degrees do you have?
I have no problem. I have an undergrad in long-term care administration. I have a first master's in hospital administration. I got an MBA in business administration, and I got my PhD in human research with a concentration on focus engagement. And basically, how do you engage people to focus on the right things at the right time with the right people? And that's very important.
Exactly. And so that's like what you were talking about with the idea of the runner, and the idea here, because there's so many people right now, let's just be real. It's like that's why I wanted to go with the one that had the escalator going up, because so many people right now feel that they are on the bottom, and that maybe they got thrown off and then they went underneath it too, and they've been a little pancaked, and it's like, how do I get back up and get back on to go to the top? And because of, we've had an interesting year plus, and a lot of people are saying, Lyman, I just don't know. that eye of the tiger. I used to have the eye of the tiger, but they still do, right? They still
Yes.
do. So what say you to all of these people right now that are saying, okay, Dr. Focus, Dr. Lyman,
Yeah.
you know all of these different things. How do I do this?
Here's the first step. And write this down. They all start with A. Real simple. The first thing, you have to acknowledge where you're at. Nothing happens without the acknowledgement of your current state. They tell me, and I've never had this affliction, that if you are an addict, a drug addict, an alcoholic, and you go to Alcoholics Anonymous or NA, the first thing they say is that you have to acknowledge your sickness, your illness. Mm-hmm. Until a person is willing to acknowledge where they're at, they cannot figure out where they need to go. Because you first have to acknowledge, where am I? Because that gives you a baseline, a starting point on that track to recovery. The second thing is they have to acquire, acknowledge, and then you have to acquire the right type of coaching, teaching, training, whatever that might be. Because it's not enough to just say, okay, I acknowledge, I got a problem with that, and do nothing about it. So you have to acknowledge and you have to acquire the right skills. That might be a coach. It might be medical attention, whatever that might be. You need to acquire whatever that is. And then the next thing is you have to attack it. You have to attack it. You have to attack it different ways. The mistake that a lot of people make, they take this one size fit all. That doesn't work because we're dealing with individuals. And so let's say if I'm dealing with a client who's struggling with procrastination. Once they acknowledge and once they've acquired my services as their coach, what we do, we put together an attack plan. And that attack plan is based on 3 critical principles. Mm-hmm. Focus, prioritize, and achieve. So part of that attack plan is let's focus on, number 1, your energy level. When are you more likely to be distracted? Is it in the morning? Is it in the afternoon? Or is it in the evening? Then the second question, when are you most likely to feel energized? Is it in the morning? Is it in the afternoon? Is it in the evening? Are you an early riser, an early bird, or a night owl? Because energy is all about understanding how you flow through life. Understand the purpose of your brain. And people don't understand this. The purpose of your brain is nothing more than the regulation and the dissimulation, let me say that again. The purpose of your brain is basically being a mechanism to distribute energy. Give you an example. If you're in a cold climate, what's the first thing your brain says to sacrifice? Your fingers, number 1. But the brain says we really don't need your fingers to live. Second, the hand, and it kind of works its way up. And what the brain does, it conserves energy. Right. And so it says, force all the blood into the vital areas. Yeah. And it will sacrifice finger, toes, arms, in other words, the limbs. So the brain is regulating energy. And so if you don't know your energy signature, it's going to be difficult for you to know your peak or optimal level of performance. And that's what I help my clients to understand. And that comes with prioritizing. And then once that happens, we can achieve success. Because for the first time, it's like, oh my God, you know what? Everybody been telling me I had to be an early riser. That's not me. I work best at night. So again, it's because someone said early worm gets the worm. And we bought into that everybody had to get up at 5 o'clock in the morning. Okay? In order for them to work at their peak. But the truth of the matter is there are some people that absolutely work their best between 11 and that 6 a.m. period. That's when they get the most creative thoughts. And exactly. So that's part of what I'm talking about is understanding how your brain works when it comes to understanding the brain is a mechanism that conserves and distributes energy.
Yes. Yes. And so, and I'm not going to show it, but I love one of your clips that you were talking about. If you do have to get up early, don't have your alarm clock right next to you, you know, and you were
Yes.
talking about how have it across the room. There's someone you were mentioning had 3 of them, one across the room, one in another room, and one downstairs.
And one
And I was
downstairs. Yes. That was my good friend Joe. Shout out to Joe.
Shout out,
And it
Joe.
worked. Shout out to Joe. He said, man, it works. At first I was telling him to use 2. He's like, bro, I need 3.
3 of them. 3's a charm. Okay, so and you are very into the numbers. Like there's another one. You guys need to check out a lot of his stuff. Really check it out, because everything he puts out there are absolute nuggets in them. However, what I want to make sure that we do here, though, is shout out to what it is that you are doing, because it is huge. I am so absolutely excited about this new movie that you were invited to be a part of. I think that, yes, go, Lyman, let's talk about that.
There's a short story, and I'll be brief about this. It had been told to me. People had read my first book, Shattered Masks, 7 Masks That We Wear. And they're like, oh my God, Lyman, reads like a movie. And several people told me they saw this being turned into a documentary or some type of theatrical, whether a play or something like that. This was 7, 8 years ago. And come to find out that somehow my book got to Hollywood in the hands of a director. Mm-hmm. They spent 2 years trying to get in contact with me, and I kept blowing them. I thought it was a scam. And finally, someone reached out to me and said, listen, this is not a scam. Would you just please answer your phone? And I said, okay, all right. You know, after 2 years, and, you know, there's a lesson there. You never know where your opportunities might lie. And so I got on the phone. They shared with me some of their previous work. These are Academy Award winning films that they've done, documentary. And he said, Lyman, we're putting together this film called Unmasking Hope. And we couldn't finish this film without, you know, we read your book, we looked at your online stuff, and we said we had to have you. And so they flew my team and I out to Los Angeles, California. We shot the documentary over a 3-day period. And I'm glad that it will be released. And they did it smart. It's going to be on all the public access channels so everyone can see it. And the premiere will be September the 11th of this year. So 9/11, the 20th anniversary of 9/11 will be the release all across the United States and parts of the world, called Unmasking Hope. You can actually go to the website, unmaskinghopethemovie.com. And I'm excited about that. It was, I tell you, it was amazing being at the studio and understanding how short films are made. It is grueling.
Yeah.
You know, you think it looks easy, but it's a lot of work. I mean, I had one scene where I literally walked across the street 20 times. And all I did was walk across the street just to get that right shot.
Right.
And that's to give you some idea. But it all came together. I'm very pleased with it. I'm excited about it. And again, it goes back to that tenacity not to give up. And all I did just kept putting out content. If you go to my YouTube channel, I just consistently put out. I don't put out negative stuff. You'll never see me talking about anyone. You'll never see me downplaying anyone. What you will see me doing is uplifting. That's what I'm about. It's uplifting people and helping them to get focused, stay focused, or to help them change their focus or to refocus their focus, as I like to say.
I love it. I cannot wait. And I knew you said September, but you just dropped the mic on that one. Boom, bam. Wow. On 9/11, 2021.
Yes.
Wow. That is absolutely exciting. And I cannot wait. I am so excited. In fact, we'll have to do something around that and really
Yes.
get people to get eyeballs on it, because we need to be sharing our stories, and more inspiring stories of those inspiring others, and anything that we can help to keep eyes for our youth to
Yes.
understand that these things are real. We need to watch out, that we need them to be empowered to share and tell and have, I'm sure all the messages, because I'm going to be reading that book. I didn't know, and just until this show, I mean, I wasn't aware. I guess I didn't make the
Yes.
connection of that one book. I knew the other book, of course, but I didn't know
Right.
this one. And so I'm
Yeah.
going to get my hands on it, read it, and I can't wait, because
Yeah, matter of
this is
fact,
one of
the
my real
relaunch of
passions.
that book, we're in the process of relaunching that book. We've
Oh, good.
updated. So
Oh,
volume 2 of Shattered Minds will be coming out probably in a couple of months. We
awesome.
try, it's always about the timing, close to the
Yeah,
movie, so
yeah.
people can go and get the book if they choose to. And so I'm excited about that. There's a lot going on. This has
You
been an
also, yes,
incredible year.
you have you have the gang coming together again, and I only have I have this one picture. You have some of
Yes.
the buddies, some of your friends, some of the gang that where I first met you at a Speaking Empire event. You've got a lot of them coming together in 2022, right? Let's talk about that.
2022. Yes. Oh my goodness. Listen, let me share with you why we put on the life conference. Life stands for live your focus encounter. Because whatever you focus on, you pay attention to. And what you pay attention to, you focus on. And what you focus on will expand.
Mhm.
Okay. I got sick and tired of going to conferences and retreats. Well, all I got was information. And people go home, and instead of self-help, it became shelf-help. So we take those packages, we just put them on the shelf, and they stay there.
Yeah.
What we wanted to do was people have an encounter where we bring people from all over the world together. And we have three major areas that I believe is essential to living a focus-driven lifestyle. We talk about relationships, we talk about business, and we talk about lifestyle. A lifestyle that you want to design, and we show you how to do it. So this is a how to do. We show you how to build your business, how to scale your business. We got Dave Van Hughes, the master sales coach, will be there. Oh my goodness, I'm excited. We got Jay Johnson, who's a global business strategist. He's going to be there. My business partner. She's a lawyer. She has a program called the Diamond Connection, where she shows young ladies how to discover their inner diamond and not just live in coal land. All right.
I
Because a
love
lot of
it.
people, they think they're just a lump of coal or a lump of carbon, but they
Uh-huh.
really have diamonds on the inside of them. But guess what? Diamonds don't just lay on the surface. You got to dig deep. And she's
Right.
going to show, particularly young ladies, how to dig deep. And we got other people that will be there. I'm so excited about that. Go to our website, life2020.com. That is LYFE2020.com. Get your tickets now. They're on sale. And we start early out. We're a year out, but we're already promoting it because we
I
know we're
love
going to
it.
sell out.
So
Last year we had 10,000 people virtually tune in.
it's L-I or Y?
LYFE.
L-Y.
Yeah, LYFE.
F-E.
Live your focus encounter. Yeah,
Your
LYFE
focus.
2020.com.
Okay, just so it's LYFE
FE
2020.
2020.com.
Okay, we're going to put that up right now. That's what's nice about being able to do that here. So there we go, like that.
Absolutely, yeah.
Oh,
That's
well,
it.
we got it looking interesting, but it will still work.
It still works, yeah.
It will still work. Okay, so what we've got going on here, you have another book or two coming also.
Yes, we have. I got another book. We're doing a relaunch of Shattered Minds Volume 2. that's coming out. Also, we got a brand new book. I'm excited. It's called The Morning Gift, GIFT. Everyone wants to get this book. If you know someone or even yourself and you wake up feeling groggy and you really have not, because let's face it, because of the pandemic, you may not find where there's something to smile about. We got a lot of things, here in Indiana. Last night there was a mass shooting. So people are hurting. 8 people dead, 5 people injured in the hospital at the FedEx in Indianapolis, which is only 45 minutes from where I live in Bloomington. And so people are hurting all over the world.
Yeah.
We got social unrest. We got cop killings. We got, you name it. Things seems as if it's hard sometimes to wake up and feel good. What the morning gift is designed to do is to give you strategies on what to do every morning. I want to share real quickly. The first one is gratitude. Spending at least 30 seconds to find something to be grateful for, even if you say, I'm glad to be alive.
Exactly.
And then the I stands for introspection. Taking time to ask yourself 3 questions. I give you one of them. Where am I at today? How am I doing? So we don't ask ourselves. We wait for people to say, Tamara, how are you doing? But when the last time we asked ourselves, Lyman, how are you doing? Mm-hmm. And taking that time to be honest and answer, I'm not doing good today. I'm hurting today, man. Having that inner conversation with yourself, being introspective. And then the F stands for focus and the T stands for time allocation. Get the book. I explain all that. But the key that I want to bring out is gratitude. If anything, I will say this changed my business model when every morning I got up finding 1 to 3 things that I was grateful for. And it seemed like the more I showed gratitude, it's like the universe just opened up a basket and poured blessings into my life.
True. I can attest to that because I've been in that practice for a while, and it is absolutely incredible. And what I have also noticed, and when you're talking about all of this, when you're talking about also where are you, and then the intention of, because you talk about focus and then where it is that you want to go, you are always every year coming up with some type of a program or focus or something, and then you achieve it. That's why you are a Master Practitioner NLP.
Yes.
So a Master Prac, that NLP Prac. People.
You are good.
Oh yeah. Well, and then you got the Master Six Sigma Blackbelt. You've got your books. You got a movie coming out. And you've got the conference. You help so many people also find their way, and you do it with heart. Because one thing why I wanted to have you back, and I'm so thrilled that you're here, is that you're someone that you've been there before. You know what it's like to struggle. You know what it's like to want to get that voice out there. And when you share that story of you in 7th grade, your friend in 9th grade, and you take on that voice, that persona, and you're borrowing, you're mirroring, and you're finding your way by watching who is it? The question was, who was it that was someone that was a hero or someone that you wanted to emulate? And you took on one of the greats, one of the great orators. And look at you now. Look at you now. And the message that you're sharing during a time that we need more service heroes stepping up, and you have been doing it all this time. That was why making that it be known that it was 3 years ago. It was the most interesting show I've ever done, yet you stayed there and you were so gracious. Your teacher would have been probably was watching and smiling that day, saying, you know what? He was that gentleman that whole time. He didn't flinch. He got through it, and it was gnarly. Anybody want to watch it? Go back and watch it. You'll be like, goodness, like really, he stayed on cue. That is what we need right now, and the fact that you took on the ability to be Dr. Lyman A. Montgomery with a voice that was mirroring one of the greatest voices of all times. You right now are out there again, and this movie, the books, the practices that you help people to find their way, the nuggets that you share on the YouTube channels, and the conference. I mean, to be able to go to a conference and come away with actionable life skills.
And here's the other thing about that. The other thing about that, when people sign up at the conference for our program, we follow them for a whole year, because we want to make sure you actually we want to make sure, number one, you don't not only have an attack plan, but as your coach, I'm in that corner and our other coaches are in the corner with you. Because if you ever notice a fight, there's the coach, there's the referee, there's a cut person, right? Because sometimes you'll get knocked down. And sometimes you need someone to go over there and put a Band-Aid or something on you.
Right.
Okay. But what we will not do, we won't throw in the towel on you. But we just believe, look, ring the bell, take a break. That's okay. Take some water, hydrate, but get back in the fight. And one of the persons, the reason I ended up getting my doctorate is because of my other great mentor. And I have to give the shout out to her in college, Dr. Francine Childs. Listen, this woman, Dr. Francine Childs, I call her Mama Child. This woman would take me out of her own pocket. Listen to me. She invested in me and her student. She would take me to conferences as a sophomore and junior with PhD students, put me on a platform on the dais and say, listen, I want you to present that paper, dust it off, change some things. And what she did, she introduced me to academic conferences. And then she said, all I asked for, and she's 80-something years old. She's still kicking. She's still a scholar. But let me tell you something. This woman, Miss Francis and Dr. Francine Childs, they believed in me when I didn't even know yes, Miss Jarvis gave me a voice, helped me find my voice. Dr. Francine Childs said, now you're going to share it with the world by taking me to conferences.
Yes.
And I encourage you, and don't give up on these young people. I know they can be knuckleheads. I know they can seem like they're not. I was the chief knucklehead, trust me, okay? But this lady would hunt me down on campus and say, put word out. Matter of fact, I never forget, quick story. I was on academic scholarship. I had pledged fraternity. My grades dropped. And she blackballed me. Matter of fact, she said, you can't go to no more dances, no nothing. And the whole community turned on me. They wouldn't let me go to dances. I would try to get into the dance. And, this was back in the days of what they call in loco parentes. They were the professors served as if they were your parents away from home. And they shut it down. Matter of fact, they even put out on the radio, hey, Mr. Montgomery, get your act together. You're going home. But after that, every semester, every quarter was a 4.0. So I only had one bad quarter in college. I had a 0.2 GPA one semester. After that, it was 4.0s. But that's because of that tough love.
Mm-hmm.
That's because Dr. Francine Childs said, listen, we want you to come here and leave with something more than just a T-shirt that says, I went to OU, Ohio University. Shout out to OU Bobcats. I want you to leave here with a shirt that says, alum of Ohio University. Yeah. And I still keep in contact. So shout out to Mama Childs. That woman, I tell you, I love her. She used to call me her misguided son. Oh. And I'm so proud of her. When I got my doctorate, she called me. We cried together because I'm telling you, 20-something years ago, She said, "You're a scholar, young man. Act like it." And so shout out to what you're doing, Tamara, for recognizing people that are in the trend. Because a lot of times they don't get the recognition. We don't look for it. You know, we just serve because that's who we are. So shout out to you. You're a huge inspiration to me and motivation.
Well, thank you. It's vice, back at you. And that's what I love about this. And you're right. This show is all about, well, okay, shout out to my grandma, since we're doing shout outs. And she's there with her wings, and she was the one that she taught me to back in the day, when someone gave you a thank you note, you were to tear it apart, you were to put it to the side, and it was supposed to be between the person that sent it and you, and that they get their reward somewhere else. What her beliefs were, my beliefs, and the pearly gates would reward. Well, now we shout out to grandma. That was then. This is now. We need to be shouting out from the top of the rooftops that we've got good people doing acts of service, and we need to be thinking them, and we need to be sharing these stories. And so we will be sharing this one out, and I really want to encourage this because it's something that I've done twice now, and I want to start sharing more stories of our youth, also youth serving service heroes, because we need to be, and with the movie coming out, telling your story, talking about, and again, I got to read the book, but I can only imagine just knowing now what portions of the story are. It's that we need to be sharing stories of the youth that are out there making a difference. Shout out to Jesslyn and Cameron. You both are rocking it. You guys are out there making a difference in your environments. One's in Australia and one's in Southern California. And they are inspiring others in huge ways. We need to find more. I'll tell the stories. We need to get people that are the teachers too. I want more teachers to be shared. So if you guys want to nominate someone to have them on the show, we can share these stories, and we can be showing how student leadership, teachers, and how they are mentoring, and that we've got them out there making a difference. Because the bad eggs are the ones that oftentimes get all the attention. And grandma, we're going to be up on the roof, and we're going to be shouting the thank you to these people, and that they are making a difference, and say, keep going, keep being the leader that you are, because we need it more than ever. We need to stop so many of the behaviors that are happening. Shine the light on them, the ones that are doing it right and helping to get this turned around.
Absolutely. I'm so glad you said that, Tamara. I'm so glad you said that. When Dr. Francine Childs retired, 3,500 people showed up in Athens, Ohio for her graduation. For her retirement party. It was such that the mayor called and said, something going on. It's a lot of people. Oh yeah, Dr. Francine Childs retiring. And that's just people wanting to come back and share their love and share, giving her flowers while she's alive. And the other person that I would say is it's just our parents, regardless, we don't always agree with our parents, but trust me, they have our best interests at heart. And just shout out to moms and dads, single moms, single dads, uncles, what we call unks, aunties, grandparents that's pulling double duty. We have some grandparents, their story isn't heard, where they're raising not only their own kids, but now their children's children. They're raising grandkids, and
absolutely,
and it's amazing. And their stories are not being told. So again, thank you for having this platform for people to share their stories.
Thank you. And we're over time, yet you know what, guys, TGIF, forgive us. We need to go because we are on a network and we've got to let go of the space. And so, Lyman, you are a service hero. Thank you, and more to come again. Bye, everyone.